If you have ever stepped outside, looked across your yard, and suddenly noticed those small piles of sand popping up everywhere, you already know how frustrating hills can be. One day your yard looks clean and smooth, and the next day it feels like you are walking on a field of tiny volcanoes. I have been there, and I know how quickly ants can take over if you ignore them. The truth is, hills are not just about what you see on the surface. Beneath that small mound is a whole colony working non-stop, and if you want real results, you and I have to deal with the problem from the root, not just the top. The first thing I always do is understand that destroying the visible hill alone will not solve anything. You might kick it, flatten it, or even pour sand over it, but the ants will simply rebuild it within hours. What you need to focus on is the colony underneath, especially the queen. If the queen is still alive, the ants will keep coming back no matter how many times you clear the surface. One simple method I like to use is boiling water. I boil a full kettle or pot of water and carefully pour it directly into the center of the ant hill. You have to be precise and slow so the hot water goes deep into the tunnels. This method works fast and can kill a large number of ants instantly, including those below the surface. But you should be careful because boiling water can also damage your grass or nearby plants. So use it only where you are okay with a little patch damage. Another method that works well for me is using dish soap mixed with water. I mix a good amount of liquid soap with water and pour it directly into the ant hill. What this does is break down the ants' protective outer layer, and it also floods their tunnels. It is safer for your yard compared to chemicals, and you can repeat it as many times as needed without worrying about harming your soil too much. If you want something stronger, you can use a bait approach. I personally find this very effective because instead of killing only the ants you see, you allow the ants to carry poison back to the colony. You can use store-bought bait or even make a simple one using sugar and borax. The sugar attracts the ants, and the borax slowly kills them after they take it back to the nest. This way, you are targeting the queen without even seeing her. I also like using vinegar as a natural option. When I mix equal parts of vinegar and water and spray or pour it over the ant hill, it disrupts the scent trails that ants use to find their way. Without these trails, ants become confused and start to abandon the area. It may not kill the entire colony instantly, but it helps weaken their activity and prevents them from rebuilding quickly. Another important step you should not ignore is keeping your yard clean. I always make sure there are no food scraps, fallen fruits, or sugary spills outside. Ants are always looking for food, and once they find a steady source, they will build their homes close to it. When you remove what attracts them, you make your yard less inviting. You should also look at moisture in your yard. Ants love damp areas, so if you have leaking pipes, overwatered grass, or areas where water collects, you are unknowingly inviting them in. I always check my yard for wet spots and fix them quickly. Dry soil is less attractive to many ant species. Sometimes, I go a step further and disturb the colony repeatedly. After treating the ant hill, I come back the next day and break it apart again. This constant disturbance makes the environment unstable for them, and over time, they decide to move somewhere else. You and I have to be consistent because ants are very persistent. If the infestation is large, you might consider using a commercial insecticide. There are many ant killers designed specifically for outdoor use. When I use them, I always follow the instructions carefully to avoid harming pets, children, or plants. These products can be very effective when natural methods are not enough. Another trick I use is sealing entry points around my yard. Ants sometimes build hills close to pavements, walls, or cracks. When I seal those cracks, I reduce the places they can hide and build. It is a small step, but it makes a big difference over time. One thing I always remind myself is patience. Getting rid of ant hills is not a one-time job. You might treat them today and still see some activity tomorrow. But if you stay consistent and combine different methods, you will notice fewer hills and less activity over time. At the end of the day, your yard should be a place where you feel comfortable, not a place where ants take control. When you understand how they work and take the right steps, you can take your space back and keep it that way. I have done it myself, and you can do it too with the right approach and consistency. If this helped you, make sure you stay tuned for more simple and practical tips that make your home and yard pest-free. Take care of your space, stay consistent, and I will see you in the next one.